The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
So guys, let's go ahead and kick this party off. You know what, this is a hard slide for me to show because this is something that's growing into OPTAVIA. It's something that it's less important for me now, talking about my qualifications and certifications from a fitness standpoint, just because we focus on so many amazing things with OPTAVIA, and the growth is not about title. So when I put this out here, I put this out for one reason. I put this out here because I want people to know that I come from a wide variety of different modalities in fitness, from group exercise to hardstyle kettlebell, CrossFit level 1, suspension training, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I just put that out there for people who sometimes watch this and they may wonder, well, maybe that's just your side of things. But that's why I put that slide out there. But let's go ahead and just dive in, guys. What is exercise, right? What is exercise? Well, exercise is defined as deliberate activity, vigorous enough to enhance your level of fitness. Okay, so it is the most important predictor of longevity to optimize your health. And this is our exercise activity thermogenesis, or our EAT. You'll hear all the time, we talk about in the beginning of Habits of Health, NEAT, or non-exercise. We will be getting into EAT activity. We'll be getting into exercise. So that is the definition of that. Now, looking through the lens of a health coach, we have to look at this from a different angle. We are looking at small micro habits over time to create a lifetime of health. And these should be activities that you can do forever. And the question that I ask everybody is, are you looking for health benefits? And this is your why. This is your fitness and your health why. Are you looking for health benefits? Do you want to improve your fitness? Or is this a hobby or a sport? And I have to tell you, if you're training for a hobby or a sport, this doesn't necessarily qualify for our healthy habits, for getting into our healthy. And I think somebody who might be an example of that is, let's say, Dr. Anderson and his heli skiing. Okay, heli skiing is a sport. I think he'll be the first to tell you it is probably not a habit of health. Okay, because it can be dangerous, right? So if your goal is to increase potential lifespan and to increase your fitness level, as we talked about in the first slide, then awesome. That's the direction we're going. If it's a hobby or a sport, and you can take this as a marathon, you can take this as a CrossFit, maybe you just enjoy working out at the highest level that you can. This is ultimately a sport. And I kind of want to just put that in your mind so you can kind of think about that as we move on. Now, as we start out in exercise, we want to obviously make sure that we can reduce the risk of injury and any possible medical complications. Okay, so we always want to make sure that you are in the condition to be ready to take on some of these physical challenges. And most importantly, we want to create success and victories. And the thing I love about Habits of Health, guys, is that literally we are creating wins and victories in people's lives. And it is not about, a beat down of a workout that causes people like questioning their existence here on earth, right? It's like, why did that just happen to me? It's like, I have no interest in ever doing that again. So that is not the goal of exercise. Exercise really needs to be, we have to look at it as a gift of what the body can do, a gift of, coming up on the next one, not a chore, right? Not something that is just a painful chore that you really despise and you don't really have a desire to go do, but you feel like for some reason you need to do it. So here's what we know what the benefits of exercise are. Immediately, improved mood, increased attention span, increased performance, increased creativity, okay? These are all fantastic and amazing things that I think all of us want this in our lives, right? What we know over time is that it will increase energy expenditure. It will improve cardiovascular conditioning, of course, and really help to build and maintain the systems of the bones and muscle structures to keep you fit. And as we all know, that as we age, sarcopenia is a big deal. This is like a breakdown of muscle tissue due to aging or inactivity that can ultimately cause an imbalances, falls, and that downward spiral that is really hard for us to be able to overcome and live the lifestyle that we want to live. So these things, now put a 1 in the chat, or let's put a 2. We already did 1. Let's put a 2 in the chat if you've heard any of these statements, okay? Because if all of those things are so great about exercise, then have you heard that it will take you out of fat burn, that it will stop or stall your weight loss? Look at all these 2s. We've heard these things. You will lose muscle, and you will enter starvation mode, right? One of my favorite topics. We're gonna have to do lots more of these, guys. I get excited about this. So we're gonna have to do lots more of these in the future to get into all these details. But yes, people, if you can't hear, if you're not watching this, then people are chiming in on the chat right now. Everybody on here has heard these things. Now, I want to explain and maybe connect some of the dots for everybody on here on what some of these things really mean so that we don't have to be fearful of them, okay? I call it the fitness boogeyman. There is no fitness boogeyman, okay? Everything we can connect the dots to science, and we can determine best chance of success by breaking it down to the ridiculous for some of these things. Okay, so kicks you out of fat burn. All right, guys, so here's the number 1 thing. Exercise can actually enhance fat burn by utilizing your stored glycogen and carbohydrates. Now, what we know about fat burn is, and we'll get into that on the next slide in a little more detail, but we know that that's after you've utilized your carbohydrates and you don't have a lot present, then your body's gonna tap into stored body fat or dietary fat, and it's gonna use fats for energy, okay? When we exercise, we actually, the only way to get that glycogen out of your muscle cells is to actually work out, okay, or to move, okay? So now remember, fat burn is also different than weight loss. So you can be in a fat burning mode. You can be burning predominantly fat and still not be in a weight loss, okay? So they're 2 different things. So what is fat burn? Well, we're gonna get into if we're doing 5 in 1, we're gonna get into a light ketogenic state. When you get into this state, you're gonna notice you have reduced hunger, you have improved mental clarity, and you tap into stored body fat for energy. Now there again, it's like, who wouldn't want that? So when carbohydrates are used or burned up, then we get into this fat burning state. Now, we have enough stored glycogen in our muscles to essentially do like 90 minutes of endurance activity. So here's what I've really seen working with all the people that I've worked with on this in particular. But we see that inappropriate adjustments sometimes that our exercising clients do is the actual thing that's kicking us out of fat burn. Okay, so we've heard on calls before. I think Amber Smithson has coined the term 5 in 1-ish, right? We've heard 5 in 1-ish. I like to call it a dirty 5 in 1, but that's basically doing 5 in 1 with fueling hacks, maybe beverages that you didn't know had calories in them, maybe additional condiments that you're not measuring, adding extra calories because, well, I'm working out, I should be able to add extra calories, or extra protein that may be above and beyond. So that is essentially 5 in 1-ish or dirty 5 in 1. When that happens, oftentimes we're in this gray zone. Keep in mind, fat burn is kind of like boiling water. You're either at 211 or below, or you're above 212, okay? When we're in that, we have all those benefits. When we're not, it just takes us a little time to break back into it and feel that way again. So what most people identify with is what we call compensation, or exercise-induced hunger. Now, when you work out, and you work out at a pretty high level, but this could also be if you raked the lawn, or you shoveled snow in your driveway or whatever, and you broke apart muscle tissue, okay, which happens when we exercise and we do movements. So you broke apart muscle cells, and your body's saying we need to repair those. So that signal gets sent up to your brain, and your body says you need to eat. You need to eat, and you need to repair. You need to get the branched chain amino acids in there so that we can repair the tissue, and we can get back into a strong mode in case we need to run away from danger or whatever. So when that happens, it is kind of like a hunger that is pretty hard to, like, willpower will not get you through this hunger. It's a pretty uncontrollable hunger. So what we want to take a look at is that intensity of your exercise appropriate? Because if we did a lot of muscle damage above and beyond what your body can repair from, then you're going to have excessive compensation and you're going to feel hungry. And one of the things that we know is going to challenge you and stop, challenge, and choose on a regular basis is going to be that ability to stay in a controlled satiety or appetite control. Okay, so that's one of the things that we got to take a look at immediately, is make sure that intensity is appropriate. All right, incidental or purposely falling out of program compliance. Now, here's the big one, guys. Studies show people underreport their calories by 40%. Okay, now what's great about 5 and 1, and this is why it's so successful, is that we take care of 5 of those fuelings, have our portion controlled, and they have exactly what's on the labels, what's in the fueling, right? So now we have that last lean and green that's kind of up for debate. So if we are eyeballing it, we're not measuring, weighing, that kind of thing. Somebody who's really tight on program and following the guide will sometimes even be 15 to 25% off. And when I say this is incidental, this could be you didn't realize that your coffee creamer had calories in it. You didn't realize that, you know, having a bunch of sugar-free gum actually adds up to a certain amount. Okay, so that's something that we got to take a look at, because that's that 15 to 25%. Now, if it's purposely, what I say about this is, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but that's, if you got a tablespoon of peanut butter, that's either a tablespoon or that's a tablespoon, right? Right? The heaping tablespoon. I also call it the pecking chicken deal, which basically what that means is while you're measuring and weighing your chicken on your scale, you're also pecking at the chicken skin and some of the things on the side that you don't actually weigh and measure that. And then you have this perfectly controlled meal, but you snacked on everything else all the way around it. So guys, the reason I'm seeing that people are saying, hey, I'm guilty of this, the reason I know it, because I'm guilty of it all the time, right? The reason I know these things is because I'm a human being too. So I go through this and I have to stop, challenge, and choose whenever I feel myself doing the same thing. So that is just something that just happens. All right, let's move on to the next topic, guys. Weight loss will slow or stop if you're working out. Well, once again, if we are kind of going in and out of fat burn, then we're going to see some increase and some decrease along with the glycogen that will be stored. Solutions on that: confirm accuracy and your meal plan by weighing and measuring. And then also remember, if we stay in that fat burn, then we're going to have a consistency, and we're not going to see those fluctuations, even though it's not fat gain. Like, let's not get concerned with the fat gain. It's a weight gain, but it's not fat. So we don't have to be concerned about that. Now, starvation mode. Here's the thing about starvation mode. The way most people talk about starvation mode is inaccurate. The one thing that we can actually do is we can actually go without food until we die. Like we will never get stranded on a desert island and come off that island larger or the same size. Okay? If you get locked into a cage and you're without food for a long period of time, you're not getting bigger in that cage. You're only going to get smaller. Okay? So that will happen. But let's talk about what starvation mode really is for the average person. Okay? This just means that you either voluntarily or involuntarily reduce your NEAT activity. Your NEAT activity, as explained over and over again in Habits of Health, is going to be the largest amount of calories that you burn throughout the day without exercise. But now, if you did a great workout and you said, because I worked out, I'm not taking the dog for a walk, or because I worked out, I'm just going to sit on the couch and I'm going to watch Game of Thrones, like all 8 seasons. Okay, if you do those things, then you've actually reduced the amount of NEAT activity points or calories that you would have burned, and that slows the process down. Now, if that's happening because you're just tired, like your workout just beat you down and you are tired, then again, we have to take a look at that intensity, and that intensity is probably too high. We're going to get into some recommendations a little bit later on what that looks like and how to make sure. Here's the great thing, guys. And I forgot to mention this, but going back to that slide of the certifications and everything, what's going to be really cool moving forward is you're going to be able to take the new Habits of Health system, and you're going to walk through your actual journey and be able to program yourself through this. You won't need any of those certifications because, guys, it's dialed in when you just follow the system and the process. And every great model has it. National Academy of Sports Medicine has the Optimum Sports Performance Model, which means that you take it from stabilization and you move it all the way to power. So that's really what we've done here, what Dr. Anderson has done, which is in Habits of Health, is taking you from a walking program and getting you into all the way up into high intensity interval training. It's pretty cool. So when you follow that, you're going to have all the details you're ever going to need to know. Now, here's your solutions. Remember that 20,000 steps a week goal is something that you actually build into. Like, you may be at 10,000 right now. You may be at 5,000, and that's okay. But if you look back at your Fitbit or whatever device that you use and you notice that you worked out that day, but you also reduced all the number of your steps, then you got to take a look at that, right? So, and then of course, confirm your accuracy of your meals by weighing and measuring. I mean, that's always going to be the most important thing, is make sure that you're compliant to the program that you're following, whether it's 3 and 3, 4 and 2, or whatever. Now, here's the one that all trainers will scare everybody over. And I know because I've been in those shoes before, right? So this is, and it's, if you don't understand this, this information, then it's a scary thing. The research shows us, guys, that traditional means of dietary weight loss will result in a 1/4 pound to 0.5 pounds of lean body mass lost with every pound of weight loss. Okay, so what that means is essentially you're going to lose lean body mass, or at least measurable, what's going to be measured as lean body mass. And here's something that I really think is important for people to understand. If you are a larger individual, say 250 to 300 pounds, you have a carrying capacity that your body needs to actually be able to support itself. As you drop body fat and weight, you're going to not need that strength in your lower body or anywhere in your body to hold up that frame, because that frame no longer exists. Okay, so it's actually like you're reducing the weight and the workout load because you no longer have to support it all the time. So what that means is that when you take a look at your lean body mass at your heaviest weight, as you get down into the desired weight that you have in your head, chances are you're going to see some drop of lean body mass because that weight no longer has to be supported because you're a much smaller individual. So that's nothing to be freaked out about, okay? Now we also know that if you're not in that gray zone or in that boiling point area, all right, if you're below that, a ketogenic plan has muscle sparing properties, okay? So if you're in fat burn, you're more likely to maintain as much of that lean body mass as you can, providing that it's the appropriate amount of lean body mass for your frame. And then here's the other cool thing. If you're working out, you're going to have an even greater chance of maintaining that lean body mass. And in some cases, we've actually seen people increase lean body mass during this phase because you're getting additional protein that they may not have gotten before. They're getting amazing nutrients that you may not have gotten before either. So that's a great thing. So that whole, saying of if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Well, during exercise, you're using those muscles and you're telling your body that that is an important thing to hold on to in case we get into an emergency situation. You got to run for help, whatever the case. Like your body knows that, hey, these biceps, they just don't look good. They also, you need them for something, right? So we have to work the body in order for that to be a signal to your brain saying, hold on to this muscle. This would have translated into you having to do harvesting or hunting or whatever we had to do in order to go find food. Okay. And then of course there's nutrient timing and when's the best time to have your fuelings. Dr. Anderson will suggest, of course, that you have your fueling before your workout and then after, especially if it's an intense workout. So we'll get more into that later. Stalls weight loss. Okay. So here's the thing. Number one, let's just talk about the solution. Go off of measurements, go off of body fat percentage, go off of your clothes fitting differently and the way that you feel. Because if we have these fluctuations, if you're working out, and if you are dialed in on the program, the OPTAVIA guide will dial you right in. If those things are happening, chances are you are seeing results no matter what. So let's not get overly pay too much attention to that scale because it will create some challenges. It's just the way it is, especially with the ability for your body to hang on to that glycogen and that water that we talked about. So, okay, so here, let's get into some of the details because we got about 5 minutes left. Guys, put a 1 in the chat if you want to have like more of these. I'm kind of now just getting warmed up. Like I feel like we could do like a couple more hours of this. So here's the other thing. On the other side of under reporting your calories is the over exaggeration of how hard you're working out. Okay, same study showed that people think they worked out and they're off by about 30%. Okay, so their intensity was 30% less than how they felt it felt. Okay, so what that means is that we have 40% under-reporting and 30% over-reporting of exercise. Guys, that's like the perfect storm, right? Perfect storm to be in a plateau. So here, as Habits of Health will lay out, is that we have our walking and fitness program. We have our resistance program, and we have getting into the real meaty stuff, the high-intensity interval training. Okay, so here's the thing. At your current level, if it's minimal, if you haven't been doing anything, your program, when dialed in, will create the calorie deficit necessary to start tapping into stored body fat and starting to create wins and victories in your weight loss goal. Okay. If you haven't started already, why jump in and start exercising until you start to see some amazing results? The weight on your joints is down, your energy is up, you now have goals that you want to achieve because you now realize it's all possible through OPTAVIA. And then now you're going to jump in and you're going to start to do a little bit of exercise. Okay. Meanwhile, you can be doing lighter things like your NEAT activities, your standing and your Samba and all the good stuff that's going to create a healthier you. As we get into moderate activity, again, your NEAT activities coupled with your calorie deficit from the program is going to put you in plenty of a calorie deficit. Now, we want to make sure that we're not in too great of a calorie deficit. So 800 to 1,000, like we're not going for any records as far as how fast do we have to drop body fat, because it would be better to stay consistent. Remember, the lenses of a habits of health coach is stepping your way to long-term success. There's no reason to just dive right into it. So if you can, work on the things that are going to build that program. We talked about the Optimum Sports program, but that would be like work on stabilization, get your body ready for balance, get your core strong so that when you're ready and that extra weight drops off, now we can jump into some of the heavier stuff and your body's prepared for it. Okay. Now start increasing your daily steps to 20,000 per week. That's part of the walking programs. The way you can look at it is about 5 days a week at 30 minutes. Okay. So if I could tell you, all you really need to do is your walking program, resistance training twice a week, and maybe a high intensity interval training twice a week when you're in your intense activity for health benefits. Keep in mind, health benefits. Then that's about what you need to do. And for some of you, you're going to be relieved because not only are you going to be at your goal weight and everything else that you wanted to achieve with your fitness level is going to be there, and you don't have to be at the gym for as long as most people think you need to be in the gym. Okay. So here again, your exercise program in an intense activity is going to, your exercise itself is going to create a high calorie deficit, as is your program. So consider reducing your exercise in half during this time. So if you're already intensely exercising and you come into our 5-in-1 program, then just back off a little bit. I mean, most people in this situation are going to be athletes and they know what it feels like to be lightheaded and dizzy, but you don't want to be there, guys. We want to make sure that it's safe and effective and that you're not having to suffer through this. So one of our plans like 4-2-1 or 3-in-3 is going to create an awesome calorie deficit for you to be able to go into this intensity level on your exercise and still see great results. Okay. Work with your coach on that to make sure that you have the best program in place for your activity level. But I think that is it, guys. So we are right at 30 minutes. I can't believe it because I want to talk forever, but just keep those things in mind, guys. That's where we're working towards. So first things first, walking program, working into and up to our 20,000 steps, and then getting into resistance training twice a week. And there's a great protocol for that. You will see that. It's in the old Habits of Health. It's going to be coming up in the new Habits of Health. And then as you get into more intense activity, it's going to be 30 minutes or so, well, probably 20 to 30 minutes of high intensity interval training twice a week. That's not too much to ask, right? That sounds like fun. Now, if you do love to exercise because it's your community and you found a great place that keeps you accountable and you have fun doing it, and we're crossing into that little bit of an extra challenge, a little bit of that sports kind of mentality, that's a whole different ball game. But I think we got that point across tonight. So guys, just really fine tune what your whys and your goals are, and that will determine how much exercise you need to do. And then we'll move forward with that. All right, guys, make it a great night.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.